And with the first pick in the 2015 NBA draft, what the hell happened? That's the wrong one. Fuck.
The live studio audience. Do you want to play the intro?
Fuck it.
All right. This is the 2015 NBA draft.
Put it in post.
What happened?
Yeah, what did happen? You've been wanting to talk about this topic for a while, so
because I've been debating this online for since its inception of the draft, whenever it happened.
Yes.
Every player on this draft they have their fandom.
I feel like every person has a favorite player from this draft.
It's a little divisive looking at this draft where, I'm going to preface this by saying a lot of these players aren't bad. And I'm not saying that they're bad or that they're not, worthy of praise.
Okay.
But
as a
this
whole,
draft has a lot of weird shortcomings.
As a whole, what would you give it out of 10?
The draft?
Yeah, the summarization of the skill level of the players in the draft.
If we're talking purely off skill,
yeah,
I definitely give this draft like a 7. There's some good steals. There's some good guys here that they perform for their teams, but as an impact on this draft, I'm gonna give it a 5.
I would agree. I don't honestly, as skill of if we're just taking the lottery or let's say the first 20 draft picks as a whole, I probably only really think maybe 3 or 4 of them.
There's some good names in there. See, all right. So this is my beef with this draft.
Go for it. I want to hear it.
I personally feel, looking at the list of guys and the teams that they've went to and what has happened in the 5 years since, that this draft hasn't done anything. That circumstances are what they are, but going down the list, a lot of these guys, for whatever reason, their impact in the league hasn't started.
I think the biggest thing to happen to any individual player in this draft is D-Book going 70 in a game. What are the other landmarks of players
D-Book going
in this draft?
Dropping 70, Cat making all NBA, and maybe D'Angelo Russell's playoffs.
Maybe. You got guys like Montrezl Harrell, who's had a good, career for the most part.
This is where
he was picked 32nd
in the second round. So you go down the list, and essentially there's some good role guys, but almost a majority of the guys still haven't even made any impact on any team of note.
Yeah,
they haven't done anything in the playoffs. Karl-Anthony Towns, efficient as all hell. I give him his credit. He is definitely a player you would like to have. But being a number 1 pick, or even having a guy that changes the fortunes of a franchise, that this draft hasn't produced that.
He's supposed to be a cornerstone
guy.
Yeah,
and I said the stats before to you. The worst year in the last 10 that the Minnesota Timberwolves had, it was the year before they drafted Karl-Anthony Towns.
So this would be 2014.
2014, they were abysmal. They got Cat.
That's how they got the first pick.
And then since then, they've made the playoffs once, and that was an outlier year.
Because they added an all-star in Jimmy Butler.
Other than this shortened so far season that we don't know where it's going to end up, this current 2019-2020 season, they've barely been above 400, if that, at any point.
Yeah.
And that's... that's saying something.
Now that was before they added D'Lo. Since I don't know what the record has been
before
since
D'Lo, so things like that, make a difference. And then also, the league is changing a little bit, but that's important. Since
I would agree.
He's been drafted. It 5 years may not seem like a lot, but that's when guys start entering their primes. That's when they start kind of,
He would be 25 right now, something like that.
Right now, he is.
If he was 19, 20.
Yeah, he's 24. He'll be becoming 25.
Yeah.
That's kind of when a guy really starts leaving an imprint.
Yeah.
But this is the other caveat. Since this draft, in subsequent drafts after, there have been plenty of impact guys.
Okay.
Guys who have made their presence known, and like I said, situation means a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I'm I'm seeing performances here by guys that I go, that guy could be a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
And I haven't seen the resume yet fully formed for some of these guys in the 2015 draft.
Okay. If I'm going just as a whole, I'll get into that in a second. If I'm talking about Cat, now, first and foremost, before we go too far into this, I want to give my condolences to Cat because of his mom passing. And it's very hard to deal with, and my condolences out to him and his family because that is really tough. So I will, please don't take this as negative in any way whatsoever.
This is supposed to be negative. It's just
Absolutely.
a perspective.
Absolutely. Now, I don't, when people were giving him the praise of, oh, he's the next Tim Duncan or he's this and that, I've never given him that amount of praise. Now, on the opposite end, just like how you said, his situation has not been ideal with different coaching staffs and different play styles and whatever. And Andrew Wiggins, I think, is a big part of what happened in Minnesota as a whole. I don't think he's panned out at all. That's why they traded him. I just don't think he's panned out. So all of the things combined, it's just a bad situation. But that doesn't necessarily give like Cat like an answer for why he's not done. So I mean, his stats are there. He's a stat stuffer. He gets rebounds and he makes like layups and threes and shit. So that's all well and fine. But if we're talking about, if you're claiming to be the next Tim Duncan, you have to do better. You have to get your team over 500. You have to.
It's something that, you know, it's an important thing to have.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. A lot of like the situations for these teams specifically.
Yeah.
The front offices and you know, all of these organizations have dropped the ball a lot on
absolutely.
these teams, but that's also a big thing where it's like none of these guys have necessarily helped that situation. Like, you know, if they don't put somebody around them, but they're still, you know, driving a new age of the team or something, you know, sometimes, you know, you get lucky. But these franchises, it kind of shows you even drafting this high doesn't change the fortune of your
It's
franchise.
never a guaranteed home run.
You know, it's never going to be a guaranteed home run. And sometimes it takes special things to happen. And, you know, when we see guys like Luka Doncic take the Dallas Mavericks from, you know, oh man, the Dirk era is going to end to crap, these guys are going to be title contenders in a
blink of an eye.
And yeah, their front office is very savvy to like pick up on, oh, Luka's good.
Yeah.
First of all, to trade up and draft him and then put guys, like not be afraid to trade for guys and put people around him, even if they're not making complete impacts like right away.
Yeah.
And then you look at even a year later where you see a team like the Memphis Grizzlies that has Ja Morant and
like that
like blink of an eye. Like, yeah, they had Triple J.
Yeah.
But
still, he's even more raw than Ja is.
And this team pretty much like a playoff like berth.
They were on the
cusp.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen, but that's a big deal for a team to, you know, draft that high to already be turning it around.
To me,
and I go, that's something.
To me, we're talking about the Grizzlies, they have the potential to get to where OKC was. Because Ja and Triple J, to me, once they hit their stride, they're scary. Like those two kids are going to be scary. And you got kids like Brandon Clark, who is like kind of like the Serge Ibaka type. He's going to come in, he's going to block shots, he's going to give you energy. They have and then they added Justice Winslow, who, in my opinion, the first couple of years in Miami, he didn't really do anything. The last year before he got traded, he was playing great. So if he turns out to be the player that he was in Miami playing for Memphis, they can turn around what was supposed to be a rebuilding year in a blink of an eye. And to your point, when you add a player like Ja, who was the second pick in the draft, I mean, when you add a player who is transcendent, really how a player is supposed to be, you can do that when you add a player like that.
And it changes franchises, you know.
Now,
forever.
Can we talk about the first 5 picks in the 2015 draft?
You know, going through them. So obviously, Karl-Anthony Towns, #1 pick.
Yes,
great. I think that is the pick you make. Like looking up and down the draft, I'm like, yeah, he's #1. You drafted, he goes #1.
Yep. What grade would you give him from his first 5 years? Like A to F.
Him specifically?
Yes, him.
I give him a B.
Okay.
He's done great. He's made All-NBA. He had kind of not a great playoff showing. It was kind of
they got swept, right? Did they get swept? I don't remember.
But still, Clint Capella had his way with them.
But they did have to. They did have to do a do or die game to get into
it
the
was
playoffs.
a do or die game to get, but
which
they
the
won.
NBA should put that in to be
have
a
it
thing
every year.
Yeah,
but something like that where I'm like, okay, cool. But other than that, it's been great stats, not great defense. Sometimes his motors come into question.
Yes,
and I think that's a big thing. He looked a little bit more motivated since Jimmy Butler left, and then since adding D'Lo.
Yeah,
but they lost some crazy amount of games in a row with
yeah,
him.
it was bad.
And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't.
They went
happen.
like 2.5 months without winning a game.
That
or
shouldn't
something.
happen to a guy who's a number one pick 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and then we go to number 2, D'Angelo Russell.
I think his years
turbulent career.
So far. I mean, he's gone up and down. I mean, LA is definitely not an easy city to come into as a rookie. It's tough. I don't think they gave him a fair shake in my opinion. Yeah. They traded him for Brook Lopez.
And that's true.
And Brook Lopez is great, but D'Lo is supposed to be. I mean, he was a number 2 pick. He was supposed to be the guard of the future.
I think D'Lo, but
I think he's playing a lot better now.
He's playing well now, but then again, he's also on his 4th team since he's been drafted.
Very true.
That's a number 2 pick. That it means a little something when teams kind of just go, all right, we're gonna let you go now. We're gonna move on from this situation. Mm-hmm. From a number 2 guy, I think that's something.
What would you grade him?
Again, his career has been a C so far. His performances have been improving. He's a impact guy. He's done well, but there hasn't been a lasting situation yet.
No,
and until we see that, I can't say like, oh man, like this he's done it.
I think if he would have stayed in Brooklyn, they could have done really well.
Brooklyn had some stuff, and then they seized the opportunity to get Kyrie. They said we're going to pass on D'Lo here. We're going to just
when you have the opportunity to get Kyrie and KD, you take it. I mean,
yeah,
no matter what they've had in their past. I mean, those are 2
It's unfortunate luck
Famers.
for D'Lo, I guess.
Maybe
that's what it is. But
maybe
it's how it's playing out so far.
Okay. Now, what about number 3? What about Ja? Because that's he's very interesting to me.
Wrong generation.
Wrong era. If he started playing in 1989 or 1991 or something like that, he would be an all-star.
Shoot, even put him in like early 2000s.
Yeah,
this guy's getting a huge contract or something.
Yeah,
like something.
No,
like
but
that.
So here's one thing I want to mention. So when it comes to players like Jahlil Okafor, so not really offensively gifted outside of 7 feet.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, people love to say, like just how we just mentioned, you're from the wrong era. You play big ball. You play post-up ball. Post-up is not really a thing anymore. But when you look at players like Clint Capella, Kevon Looney, fucking players, I think if a team wants to use you, how they look, like how they can figure it out. Now it does take effort. Clint Capella is like a great rim runner.
That's the thing.
He has energy for days.
These guys, even guys that don't have that skill set to like shoot,
you can still be effective.
They're still effective because they use their skills that they know, and then they also, they give that energy. They do something where the impact is really there.
Because you look at if we're going even further. So if we look like a guy like Tristan Thompson Thompson can't shoot for anything. But
he's a guy I would want on my team.
He helped them win the ship with no problem. He was a huge factor in them winning the championship. So big men are still a thing in this league. They can still be a thing if they give energy and if a team wants to use them correctly. I think the problem with Jahlil Okafor was his motor and his willingness to not be the guy. I think that's the issue. Big men can still play in this league. And even though everything's about the 3 and spreading and pace and space, I get it. But big players can still be used in the right forms. Look at Montrezl Harrell.
Montrezl Harrell doesn't have the size, and doesn't have a touch from 3 or anything like that. But he runs. He plays defense.
Him and Lou Williams playing the pick and roll is scary. So if you can get a big man to play the pick and roll well, they can still be effective. So I think, yes, the NBA changed, the game changed, but you can still be used effectively if you maximize the skills that you have, and I don't think Jahlil Okafor did that.
I think so, yeah.
I'd give him a D-.
I think that's an F to me,
I give him an F,
yeah. Number 3 pick, and number 3 pick historically has been pretty good, and you got 0.
Now, do you want to talk about the unicorn?
Of course. So number 4, now we got the unicorn, Kristaps Porzingis. Again, as good as I think he is, another guy. He got traded from a team that it didn't work out in the situation he was in. Whether that was on his part, which a lot of people do believe, and he plays a role in that, or was it on the Knicks' part? He was upset that he didn't have a winning culture around him, or just like this sense of progress.
I think he felt that way.
There was 2 sides to the story, and ultimately he got traded. He went to the Mavericks now, and he's still been kind of up and down. He's kind of coming back from an ACL injury and still getting his legs under him, and he's been productive. I personally think outside of Cat, this is the best player in the draft.
Yes.
Just skill wise, and in some ways he's a bit more effective than Cat, where he played defense. He played both sides of the ball. He got the nickname the unicorn. He was kind of this freak.
Yep, absolutely.
And, it was driving Knicks basketball,
took it by storm.
Took it by storm. A lot of people weren't sold on this at first, and then you see it now, and it's like, it was a big deal. But again, there's something about this draft. These guys just didn't pan out. The situation didn't work right, and it's still TBD. We still don't know what this guy's career is going to be. Is he going to be injury prone forever? Is he going to be a piece on a possible championship contender?
Do you think that even before he got injured, I mean, did he make an All-Star? I don't think he made an All-Star team before the injury. I'm not sure if he did.
He's a one-time All-Star.
One-time All-Star. So. Okay. Now, I guess the barometer would be, if he didn't get injured, do you think the Knicks would have still made the playoffs?
And that's a good question. I
think that their organization is,
I think in the
partial
East,
dumpster fire right now.
Dumpster fire, but he was really good, and he may have been able to drag that team to a playoff spot.
Yeah,
but ultimately didn't.
So what's your grade?
C+, B-.
Okay. I can see that.
The injuries
it's tough to
tough.
Yeah, it's tough to scale. For sure.
All right, I don't know if you want to take this next one.
Oh my God. Sorry. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, it's not.
This is to say it's an F, right?
It's not a mystery to anybody.
Just straight up F.
That I am an Orlando Magic fan, and the 5th pick in the draft was Mario Hezonja, and
Hezi Jimbo Fade, as I lovingly call him.
I hate it. He was supposed to be, the next Euro guy. He was supposed to be Luka before Luka. He was supposed to be the guy. And I've heard stories of people like, oh, the Magic didn't give him a fair shot. He never got a really chance to shine. And I think that's 100% false.
Yeah, it's 100% false.
As a fan who watched
personally, and it wasn't fun to watch.
As a fan who watched every single game, I can tell you that his athleticism is great for 2 seconds. And then he takes 18 really bad shots, doesn't play defense, and then starts crying. So, no. I give him an
absolute F, unequivocal F.
When you can go to the Knicks and not be anything on the Knicks, where they didn't have anybody at the time?
I am surprised right now so far that, he has been given the opportunities as he's been given. Last team so far
the
right
Blazers,
now is
I think,
Blazers.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, somebody might still see something because he was a number 5 pick.
Maybe.
But again,
no,
an F. You got nothing out of that rose that did not move the needle. It probably hurt your team.
He was supposed. I mean, I think if he would have gone to the G League for maybe 1 or 2 years to get the NBA state of mind, maybe he would have been able to blossom. Maybe they threw him in too early. I don't know. But for what panned out, it's an F, dude.
So far, that's already the top 5 picks in 5 years, and this is what I mean. It's looking a little tough so far.
I mean, we do have 3 All-Stars.
We have
so I guess
3 All-Stars. But then this is where I go, all right, so we have 3 All-Stars in the top 5.
Yeah.
All right. So we go to a year later, and
I don't have it pulled up, so tell me.
I'm just going to stay straight up. The best players in the 2016 draft, almost all of them I'll take ahead of anybody in the 2015 draft, except for maybe Cat. But even then, I'm open to debates.
Give me the first 5.
So the first 5 aren't the 4 and 5 aren't great.
Okay.
But 1, 2, and 3 are Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, and Jaylen Brown, respectively. So
those are definitely
2 guys who have or impact guys on playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a first-time All-Star this year.
Right?
Brandon Ingram.
Ben
Simmons has been a 2-time All-Star.
Yeah, right? Okay.
Jalen hasn't made an All-Star team. He was on the cusp this year,
Yeah.
but received a pretty good contract. He's been in the playoffs, conference finals
He
twice.
got the bag,
Obviously,
so,
this is what I mean. Situation is important.
Yeah.
But he almost got to the dance, you know?
They were one game. They were a quarter away.
They were a quarter away. And this is a team that didn't have Kyrie. It was a team that didn't have Gordon Hayward. And, you know, they had 2 young guys and like Al Horford. And I think it's important,
you
know, getting there and playing and performing. He doesn't have to have the most ridiculous stats, but he performed. He was a double-digit scorer. He was going toe-to-toe with these guys. He's playing defense. You know, he's doing something.
Is he Paul George before Paul George?
That's something people are saying. You know, he's on this trajectory.
Yeah,
he could be a Paul George-esque player.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, I'll take that. I'm a Celtics fan.
Right.
I will 100% take that. I love Jaylen Brown. Brandon Ingram, I love his skill set. I love what he's doing. I'm not mad at this game. He's also not the best shake, you know, so far not the best situation in the Lakers. But this is the one comparison I will say. I will always put Brandon Ingram above somebody like D'Lo because D'Lo got traded for nothing. You got Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
Brandon Ingram was part of the key deal that got Anthony Davis on the Lakers.
Yes.
So if they win a chip this year, Brandon Ingram deserves a piece of that. But it's not like Brandon Ingram was some punk, some nothing.
I think he's still a baby.
He's still getting better, and yet he was part of this. He was one of the centerpieces in return for
without
the
him in the trade. I don't think
I don't think that trade happens.
No,
I think he's
so.
a very pivotal, important piece to that trade.
Yeah.
So that means a little something where that guy's value, perceived value, is so high.
Before you go on to the next one, I want to go back to Jaylen Brown just for a second.
Please.
Where do you think? I knew you were going to be ready to talk about this. Where do you think he would be if Jason Tatum wasn't on the team? If Jason Tatum wouldn't have blossomed to the cusp of a superstar, do you think that we would all be talking about Jaylen Brown right now?
Yeah, I still think so. A 20-point-a-game scorer this year.
Yeah.
A guy who, had some good moments in the regular season, plays both sides of the ball really well, a very explosive guy. Obviously, the team may not be at the same heights, but I do think they make some noise.
Do you think that Jason Tatum diminished the return of Jaylen Brown?
No, I think they're actually pushing each other.
Okay.
I think there's these two things, and we're starting to see how special Jason Tatum is. And again, this is what I mean, another draft removed, and you got another guy who's this impact guy who
they feed off each other.
People are already saying, he's got the skills to be, an MVP caliber player in the future. I go, we haven't seen that yet from the 2015 draft.
No,
but that's the thing. A guy like that goes to that situation. He's pushing another teammate. They're competing and it's this synergistic relationship.
I want to say now, I'm not comparing these players skill-wise to the players I'm going to name, but I think it's going to make you really happy. Is Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown a Jordan Pippen thing?
Oh, no. You have to go.
I'm not saying that Jason Tatum is going to be Michael Jordan. I'm just saying.
I ideally, everybody would love to reach that. I think that's a special stratosphere.
Do you think that their synergy could be to the level as theirs was?
Possibly.
Yeah. I don't see a duo like them that young.
I just don't see. I haven't seen that thing yet where one of these guys is like the alpha.
Okay.
I think they need each other. Tatum is doing great things, but it's like, there's going to be nights where it's like Tatum is going to can't be the guy because he's getting double teamed or he's just, and Jaylen is picking up a lot of the slack. It takes a special thing. Now, I do think, as a Celtics fan, I'm always going to be happy about this, but a lot of people be like, you see of these forwards, a lot of like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, trajectories. They'd be like, oh, these guys, they have these. And I'm like, I would love to have our own baby Paul George and Kawhi type deal.
They both still have baby fat. They're both babies.
Still learning the game and doing it. And I'm like, yeah, of course. They're great defenders. They play both sides of the ball really well. They can shoot the three. They pass. It's kind of, it's nice. It's nice to see. And that's what I'm saying.
That's
You know,
enough
these
Celtics
drafts.
talk. That's enough
okay,
Celtics
fine,
talk
it's
for now.
enough Celtics-
That's enough
Celtics
Celtics
talk.
talk for now.
But yeah, then the next two picks are Dragon Bender and Chris Dunn.
Oh,
And those are absolute zeros. But again,
Dragon Bender's on the Warriors right now. I want to make that.
so they're
aware.
absolute trash. But you got to then going down the list, and this is where the rest of the 2015 draft and compared to other drafts going forward,
Okay.
gets funny.
Okay.
So a guy like Jamal Murray gets drafted 7 in the 2016 draft.
Yeah.
I take him ahead of almost all of these guys in the 2015 draft.
Jay Murray is
Jay Murray's really good.
I feel like he's very controversial though.
He's a controversial topic, but
he's the definition of streaky though.
but he's still a baby, and
Very true.
he's
Very
showing
true.
that
Yeah.
in the big stage last year in the playoffs, he didn't disappear.
No. Yeah.
He
right.
did play well.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh snap, that's dope to see. And then you got guys like Domantas Sabonis, who
Don't.
I'm sorry, another guy who was on the Magic, but on a new situation in Indiana,
He's playing well.
Is
Yeah,
outplaying his counterpart who was drafted a year before him in Miles Turner.
I actually I don't know. I really like Miles Turner.
Miles Turner is great, but
I feel like
been
if,
hurt a little bit.
That's true,
And
but I
then-
feel like if Sabonis wouldn't have, I feel like it's a testament to Miles Turner for taking a back seat and wanting to work together with Sabonis. Because I think Miles Turner is probably one of the top 3 players in the entire 15 draft. I would pick him over a lot of people in this draft.
That's a hot take.
I really do. I really like with the combination of his like effort, athleticism, and skill. I would maybe pick him 3 in
Over
this
Frank
entire draft.
Kaminsky? Frank the Tank?
Frank the Tank, who had one good year in college and went in the lottery. So yeah,
You're right. I would take him.
I'd put Miles Turner over a lot. Now to your point, Sabonis, he gets it from his dad. The kid can play, man. The kid can
And then
pass and
we keep going down
rebound.
the list, and we got guys, Karis LeVert, who I'm like, oh snap, this guy.
If he wouldn't have got
is
injured,
really
he
good.
would have been.
And then
yeah.
the big steal of the 2016 draft, Pascal Siakam.
It's
who
true.
A lot of people are
Yeah.
very high on. I'm pretty high on him.
Yeah.
And I go, that's something. And all these guys have had moments, playoff moments, have showed a lot of promise, look like they deserve every bit of credit they've been given.
Yeah.
And, I'm still waiting. A lot of these other guys in the 2015 draft are TBD.
There's a couple people in the 2015 draft that I'm looking at it right now. Somebody we mentioned, Montrezl Harrell, was actually picked 32nd, so that's a plus.
It's a good
I guess.
steal.
Yeah, I mean, you got guys like Pat Connaughton, who's playing pretty well. I mean, Norman Powell went 46th. He's got a ring.
I'm not like high on anybody in the 2015 draft. Cat and D-Book are up there. And D-Book, I still have a lot of questions. That team has not improved an inch since drafting him.
What about your guy, RJ Hunter? Oh, we were going to talk about the Celtics. That's fine.
Yeah, we're not talking about
Celtics.
Celtics.
You're right.
That's what I mean. Like, there's
if we're going to let me throw in real quick the 2014 draft.
Okay, yeah, let's go the year before.
Number 1, Andrew Wiggins, who went.
Not good.
What happened? What happened?
Not good.
Let me not.
Not good.
Number 2, Jabari Parker, who
Injuries.
I was so high on in the draft.
But
He was
also,
one of my favorite players in the entire draft.
Not good.
He breaks both legs and then
admittedly goes, I'm only going to play one side of the ball.
yep.
That's not a good thing.
Yep.
Sorry.
Number 3,
Joel Embiid.
the process.
That
Lion
guy is
King.
good.
I love him.
He owns real estate in Karl Anthony Towns' head.
We're gonna go to break.
I guess we have to take a quick break.
We're gonna go to break. Whatever commercial you hear, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but it was brought to you by us. All right, we'll be right back. We are back, and as Edwin was saying, we do basketball is a big thing for us, and we could just go and do this for hours.
We were supposed to do only like half an hour, but this is not a half an hour.
This is a very important thing because I know this is going to be something I continue to discuss after this because a lot of these guys are again polarizing figures
and beloved by a lot of people
in
too.
NBA circles.
Yep,
and a lot of people go to bat for them. And I don't blame them, but I am not one of those people.
Yes.
And I will rather use my energy on these other players.
Yes.
So again, we were talking about Joel Embiid process. Amazing.
I think
the
only problem with JoJo is his effort when he wants to. I feel like if he were to be on 100 every game,
when
he could be
wants
MVP.
That dude is scary. And
Yes.
then he's had some runs where I'm like, I love every second of this. And most of it's been good.
Yes,
He's
absolutely.
been 90-10, 90% I love it.
Yes.
10% not so much.
Yeah.
But he's showing he wants it.
Yes.
And him getting beat by Kawhi and going, out the
7
tunnel
games.
crying in 7 games shows he wanted that.
That was so heavy.
He went toe to toe.
Yes.
It's possible.
And
it's possible they win that series. Who knows? They could have had a chance against a diminished Warriors team to win. So
yes. Now
one bounce away.
The quintuple bounce, whatever bounce it was. Okay.
One of those 70 bounces.
Yes. This is not necessarily the topic we were supposed to talk about today, but I have the platform.
This is the platform to
I'm
do
going to
it.
go for it. I'm so sick and tired of Philly fans or the people in the, you know what I'm going to say too, the Philly fans or the people in the media that are so like, hey, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid shouldn't play together. Okay, so if that's your take, that's your take. Now, the take I have an issue with is when people are like, oh, let's split them up, keep Ben Simmons, and build a team around Ben Simmons. Okay.
I know people that would say that.
Yes.
I don't agree.
I don't agree because, in my opinion, nobody has ever said, hey, Ben Simmons can be MVP one day. He could be an all-star. He could be a superstar.
I can see a path.
Sure.
But it's a very specific road to get to a it's very
yes,
still situational that it's almost inconceivable.
Joel Embiid on the other hand, he could be MVP. It's not even a question. MVP
next year he could go off and do his thing and become MVP because Giannis momentum they will go. We're not going to give him 3,
right?
Or obviously we're seeing if Giannis wins another one.
Who knows?
Yeah.
How about
he's the guy.
Let's give Joel Embiid an actual point guard and somebody who can shoot the ball. How about we do that?
I'm okay with letting Ben Simmons run some of the offense, but Ben Simmons is not, guarding the other team's point guard. You can let him guard the power forward. You can just call him a power forward.
Hey, this okay.
LeBron does it. He plays point forward, so can Ben Simmons.
Can Ben Simmons play center sometimes?
Yeah, can we have some small ball?
Can we do
centers?
that?
I would love to see that.
If Ben Simmons played center.
Ultimately, what we're saying is Brett Brown sucks.
Yes. What are you doing? You put Joel Embiid.
As a Rhode Island guy.
Oh, my God.
He's a shame.
They play Joel Embiid with 2 players that can't shoot. Matisse Thybulle is a fantastic defender. He's outstanding. He can't shoot. Ben Simmons can't shoot. So we're talking about 2 players playing with a center who can't shoot, but it's Joel Embiid's fault. No, it's not Joel Embiid's fault. He's a force of nature when he's in a not even ideal situation. When he's in a semi-ideal situation, he is a force of nature. I'm tired of hearing people talk about it. If they're gonna build a team around one player, it's Joel Embiid. It's not Ben Simmons. I don't care what you have to say, but I do care. Leave it in the comments below.
And then going back, into the 2014 draft.
Yes.
Again, not the best draft, but a franchise guy who has altered forever, the fate of Philly. and
Yes,
Joel
absolutely.
Embiid.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then you got Aaron Gordon, who I think is a really good player.
Yes. Please don't trade him. Orlando, please don't trade him.
Look at that. As an Orlando fan, they're like, yo, do not trade.
Please don't trade him.
Aaron Gordon. And I'm
Please
like, that's a big thing. He has left some imprint there. He is a guy. There's still questions about certain things, but I like his game.
I think for a period of time, he thought he was a shooting guard. You're not a shooting guard. You're 6'9". You can jump literally higher than everybody on the court right now. Play power forward and just be better than everybody that plays power forward. Please do it.
So then we got more impact guys who I think are worth mentioning, and this is where I go these guys compared to the rest of the not top 2 players in the 2015 draft,
Yeah.
I would take. So Marcus Smart, I love him to death. He's been, Celtics, blood,
Absolutely.
bleeds green like crazy. The dude throws himself on the floor. That's a guy that I'm like, all right, I'm taking him over most of these guys just because of the way he plays.
If he plays like 5 more years, he might get his jersey retired.
I hope that happens.
Yeah.
I love Marcus Smart.
For
Then
sure.
you got like Yusuf Nurkic, and let's see, who else do we have?
What about
Not the best draft, but
Rodney Hood?
Nick Stauskas.
Shabazz Napier, Clint Capella,
Jeremy Grant,
Bogdan
Jokic.
Bogdanovic.
Holy, the Joker
Look
was
at that.
number 41.
Look at that.
And I'm like, yeah, look at that. Another guy who I would happily trust my franchise to.
What about Giannis's brother, Thanos? Thanias.
Not quite Giannis, but he's the Giannis.
His other brother is elected to skip college and is going to go play.
There's a factory of Antetokounmpos, and I want to know where it is because I would love to submit my resume.
Every time I look on Twitter, he has another brother. I don't understand.
They're making them in a lab.
I don't get it.
So the year before that, a lot of these guys, like I said, these are guys entering their primes. These are also, a lot of these names are guys who have kind of shown their worth in the league. They've gotten to their second contracts, and you can see where the franchise guys are. You can see where the role players are and what they are doing. Who are worth like playoff rotation spots, who are your top 7 guys. Yeah. And I'm seeing a few names where I go, I would trust these guys in a playoff situation.
I agree.
I'm not seeing a lot of those names in the 2015 draft, other than I guess I couldn't trust Cat. I would definitely have him obviously in a playoff rotation. Yeah. But there's still, I would love to see more. D'Angelo Russell, I would love to see more. I haven't seen anything in D Book. I know he would be all right in a playoff situation.
Would you take Justice Winslow over D Book?
Probably not. That's the other thing.
I don't think I would either.
These guys, there's no like trade value on them. Justice Winslow, he had a okay situation in Miami. It didn't end up working out. Some injuries and things didn't work out. And then ultimately they trade him, and they traded him for Andre Iguodala,
45-year-old.
And I'm like, the dude was sitting out the season because he wanted to save his legs. Yep. And I'm like, the team's returns in this draft aren't high. Yeah, you're not getting back anything. So essentially, we're having a year of number 1 picks that aren't or first round picks that aren't worth first rounds.
Yeah, I would say
like one of the most valuable assets in the NBA is a first round pick. Yes. And if you were to tell me that the first round pick was one of these guys, that value goes down.
Absolutely.
And that's a big deal.
We've had, just off like the first 10, let's say 20 drafts, like 20 picks, there's at least 11 busts. Like if we're talking about,
it's just guys that I wouldn't particularly
not
say
even
are going to be in a
rotation.
playoff rotation or any rotation. Yeah. And then so we keep going forward, and I see guys who I'm like, oh man, I'm tantalized by these guys. So you have the 2017 draft. Yes. And I go, Markelle went number 1. I'm still high on Markelle. I think he's going to be good.
Kid can ball, man.
And then speaking of ball, Lonzo Ball. I think he is a fantastic point guard. He's figuring out his shot. He's figuring it out. He's perfect for Zion.
I think that
trade value, he was exactly, he was traded to a perfect situation. Yeah. And even before that, he was a guy people relied on, and he had great defense. That's another guy I can trust. Josh Jackson, not good.
I think LaMelo's going to be better than Lonzo.
And that's the big thing. LaMelo's going to be pretty good, But then you got like Jonathan Isaac. And,
oh my God. Defensive anchor, baby.
Donovan Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, like John Collins.
These are all
Jared
guys.
Allen.
These are all guys that are better than the 2015.
Kyle Kuzma. Say what you will, but these are guys who are going to be in playoff rotations.
Yes.
These are guys that are going to be getting these minutes, and I'm like, you're finding a few more names than you would find in this other draft.
Absolutely.
And that's a big thing. These teams aren't losing value now. They got guys. They can trade some of these guys. Dennis Smith Jr. wasn't great, but they traded him. And
he got. He's playing. He got hurt. He's been in and out.
They used him to get Kristaps Porzingis.
You know what I found out? Dennis Smith Jr. has the highest recorded vertical out of combine.
That's great.
It doesn't mean anything.
That's what I said. That's great.
I just want to throw in that stat that I found out.
And then going even a year after that, Ayton, Bagley were still excited for the prospect of these guys.
Yeah.
But Luka Doncic is a certified, I'm saying it here, and you guys know exactly where I'm going with this. He's a Hall of Famer. He's happening. He is Larry Bird reincarnated in modern era.
Let's just say we have receipts. Chris has the receipts.
I have the receipts
of this take.
Brian, you know what I'm talking about. We have been there. I said it from the start. He should have been number one.
I honestly think at this point there is not anybody who even watches 15 minutes of basketball that won't say that, hey, that Luka guy, he could play.
Good at basketball.
He could play.
Really good.
And the two teams that
no good. I'll take him over everybody like ever.
The two teams that skipped on him and the Atlanta Hawks that should have kept him. Why?
And then going down, so you already have, Ayton Bagley, Luka Doncic, Jaren Jackson Jr. Still a good player.
He could be a stud, man.
Like I said, for sure. Changing the fortunes of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Trae Young, all-star, just lights out scorer, just ridiculous. And I dare say, a better scorer than D Book at this point. It's already in the stats.
Yeah, it's not.
His shooting and playmaking is so ridiculous. And I go, what do I do? This guy is here now.
Yeah,
putting up these stats. Can we argue against that?
I think that he's gotten to the point of how good he is offensively that Atlanta, with the trades that they made before the deadline, they were like, oh, we have to start to try to win now because his kid is good now.
And it's like, we have to utilize this.
Yeah.
He can score on anybody. He was dropping freaking how many points on the Celtics
30,
as I'm watching these
50,
games, and I go, what? They can't stop him. And I'm like, all right, it's for real.
I mean, the fact that they did all the trades that they did, they were like, oh, we can't wait 3 more years for this kid.
And then we keep going down, and we have really good names and guys, prospects that we're still hopeful about. And obviously in a few years we'll find out more about them. But then we go down and we got like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. And I go,
that's my guy.
We have the receipts on that one too.
That's my guy, man.
That's a guy who's showing out, and another playoff team. Yep. Obviously Chris Paul being on the team, but another playoff team. This guy's only his second year in the league.
Do you know that before the season started, they had a 2% chance of making the playoffs?
So we got a draft that's 3 years later.
Yeah.
And you got, let's see, 1, 2, we got a few guys, 3 that are making playoffs. Playoffs.
Yeah.
Second year guys.
Already impacting
their team. And it's not like, they're benefit. No. These guys are very important parts to these teams. Without them, their fortunes would not be where they
agree.
are. And I'm like, that's big. And these guys didn't have, the 2015 draft, they had 5 years. These guys just came in and are kind of already at a trajectory ahead of them.
Yeah.
And so these guys in the 2015 draft are playing catch up.
Yes.
The guys that came after them.
Doesn't make sense.
And I'm like, you're going to have to go into the playoffs and start getting your reps when these guys have been there and are going to have teams that are equipped because, they're whatever, if their franchises are better, they're building for them.
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to be a tough battle.
If we look at the 2017 draft and the players that were traded compared to the players that were traded from the 2015 draft, I would say that pretty much all of the major players that you named,
you're going to want to keep these guys.
Their team is regretting trading them. For the most part.
Yeah, maybe except, I think the Clippers.
I think the jury's still out. I mean, yeah, they have Kawhi and Paul George. I get it. I'm not saying that they don't have a chance.
But
that's what I'm saying.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously with a ton more first round picks, got Paul George.
Do you think
that's huge? I don't get get Paul George for anybody else in the 2015 draft.
Who maybe Cat maybe,
and then how many picks do I got to throw in? Obviously, but that's what I mean. These guys, their value is sky high.
Do you think that the Lakers are regretting trading D'Lo as a whole?
No.
Okay. Do you think? I'm just gonna go down the list. Do you think? Okay, now here might be one. Do you think the Knicks regret trading Porzingis?
No.
They had the chance to get Zion, so I mean, they obviously didn't get Zion, but they had the chance.
A damn thing.
So I don't think they're regretting trading.
Oh, they got RJ Barrett.
Okay. Do you think that the Heat are regretting trading Justice Winslow? Nope. Okay. Do you think that the Celtics are regretting trading Terry Rozier?
Or letting him walk?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. Not re-signing him.
I don't know.
No, right? Okay.
It's more shots for these other guys that need them.
Now, do you think that the Rockets are regretting trading Montrezl Harrell because they did trade him in that Chris Paul trade. But then they had Clint Capella, who was similar.
They might still like having that asset, but then they said we're not playing with centers anymore. So I don't know what they want.
Oh my god!
But
I forgot
that's
happened.
what I mean. And then you got these other guys like Stanley Johnson, Frank Kaminsky, Trey Lyles. It's names that Kelly Oubre, who I think is still pretty good.
Yeah, he can play. But I really like DeLon Wright too.
You got a lot of these names that I'm go. So a lot of these guys have moved teams. The guys that have stayed on certain teams have done nothing. It's bleak.
It is.
So I say it's one of the roughest drafts in a while.
I would agree. I think
other drafts may not have been top to bottom as talented, but you got a franchise guy. You got the draft that had Giannis and Oladipo. That draft, you may not have had the best draft that year, but you got a MVP already that came from that draft. Like that kind of situation.
Absolutely.
So I think. Is this all right? So I'll ask the question: do we get an MVP out of the 2015 draft? Does an MVP happen out of this draft?
I guess if I have to give a number to
what, the over under is 1.5 MVPs. I'm slamming the under.
I'm going under. There's nobody here that can win 2 MVPs. Nobody.
Not even that, just 2 total.
Yeah, I'm saying that there's nobody that I think can win 2 MVPs.
Do we have one? I'm not putting my name on the line yet. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Cat has the best chance, and it's gonna be a tough one for him.
In my opinion, if we're going back to 14, we got one, no problem. Joel Embiid.
Yeah, we got a guy.
We have at least one.
And then
what about 16?
16 definitely is it's tough. I don't know if they have an MVP either, but they got, Brandon Ingram if he has a year like crazy, or Ben Simmons if he goes to a new team.
They both still got baby fat on them, so they can.
So we'll see. But all right, so then do you think championships?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think these guys win a championship on their current teams? I think Cat won't win a championship on Minnesota. He's going to end up leaving.
Yep.
And then he has a better chance.
Yep.
And even then, depending on the situation, but I don't see him winning a championship for that team.
I don't
see D'Lo winning a championship helping Minnesota. He didn't help any of his other teams. Kristaps has a chance. But
that's because of Luka.
Yeah.
But he will contribute, so maybe.
I don't see any of these teams having championships. This is going to be also very bleak for championship teams, where these guys may not even be on these teams. No rotation, nothing.
What's the over-under for Phoenix making the playoffs?
Phoenix, again, this is where I go. D-Book, I get it. He's good. Their win percentage has been...
They were doing well in the beginning of the season.
All right.
They did go on the streak in the beginning. I give them that. They were doing well. And they didn't have DeAndre Ayton because he was smoking weed.
Look, this is what happens. All right, it's 2015. Their record was 23-59. The next year they went 24-58. Then they went 21-61. Then they went 16-63. 19-63. They got worse.
After adding D-Book.
And then they're 400 this year. So I'm like, that is something, right?
How did they get worse?
They got worse. And I'm like, I guess the franchise sucked, but you got this guy that everybody tells me is transformative, and I go, he's not transformative. He's really good. He's probably a third guy on a championship team.
I was not expecting that stat.
I looked it up today, and
tough.
I was like, that is rough. But this is what I mean. Wins. The biggest stat in the NBA is wins. Plain and simple.
W's
count the most.
Yep.
Because everybody who's remembered for anything was a winner.
Yep.
We'll get into the Hall of Fame debate later.
That's a whole other hour-long podcast.
But that's what I mean. Wins ultimately put you somewhere.
Okay. In not necessarily the defense of D-Book, but a very minimal amount of people like to say that he plays similarly to James Harden. Now, James Harden is leaps and bounds
He
1,000 times better than
does
D-Book.
not.
I think they play sort of similarly. I can kind of see the comparison, but it took the adding of Chris Paul to that team to really push the team forward as a whole.
Well, when Houston first acquired James Harden, they let him run.
Yes.
And then they really quickly realized this guy is actually a lot better than we thought.
Yes.
And then
he could play point guard.
And then they were like, we can win
Yes.
with this guy.
Uh-huh.
They realized that very quickly.
Yes, I agree.
And that's what I mean. Like, you got a guy.
But do you think
He
do you
changes
think,
things
do you
very
think
dramatically.
if the Phoenix Suns were to add a capable point guard to play with D-Book?
Now,
Is that the
capable
thing he's
as
missing?
Ricky Rubio, not capable.
I mean, with Ricky Rubio, they had a chance to make the playoffs. The
When?
first year, the beginning of the year, they were doing great. Then DeAndre Ayton started smoking weed and they couldn't play no more.
I wasn't going to bet on them making the playoffs.
Obviously, the first year of them playing together, DeAndre Ayton wasn't playing well. So
An improvement.
I don't know. Yeah. So
An improvement, and they were making progress.
and handsome Rubio can only do so much. I mean,
But I'm like, all right, cool. You're finally playing with a point guard and Rubio, and you have Ayton.
and then when you realize that D-Book doesn't have to be the primary
That's
ball
that's
handler,
where I go, where I'm like, all right, does this ultimately mean D-Book is the guy?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see.
And this is now going to become the wait and see draft.
Yes.
I've seen a lot from these other drafts, and I go, damn, I'm excited for these other guys. 2015, I'm still in wait and see mode. 5
the
years
jury is pretty much out on a lot of these players. Probably most of them.
Most of them.
Yeah.
But there's still some wait and see.
We'll see.
You know,
When the
maybe
NBA
in
comes
another-
back, please.
maybe in another 5 years, we'll find out. You know,
We'll find out
Something.
that Frank Kaminsky was
I
actually
just
the
want-
next Blake Griffin.
I just want to learn the next. That breaks my heart. I love Blake Griffin. I got really sad for a second there.
I'm sorry.
Man, the Celtics almost
He got his money, so I mean,
traded 4 picks to the freaking to the Hornets
yeah.
in a pick that turned out to be Frank Kaminsky.
You also almost traded your entire draft stash
'Cause
for
we-
Justice Winslow.
Because we wanted to draft Justice Winslow, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm so happy none of that happened.
You got Terry
'Cause,
Rozier instead,
I'm okay with that.
and then you wouldn't have got all these picks afterwards. So I mean,
Exactly.
you would have got Marcus Smart. Oh, Marcus Smart was here before,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't have got like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and stuff.
Yeah, the fortunes of our franchise, we stayed the course.
I think you went the right path for
we,
sure.
we went the right direction. We said avoid the 2015 draft,
I think we're
save it
good.
for next year, and it's worked out.
We got fucking Mario Hezonja. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm so sorry. All right, so
we done.
I think so. If you guys actually want to, if you have like a draft you want us to break down, if you want players
Please,
or
yeah.
anything, just hit us up. Just leave something in the comments. You can find us on Instagram.
Oh, we have an
We
Instagram
have an
now.
Instagram now, the Crowd Culture Pod.
Yes,
On
follow
Instagram.
that and message us. And
Message us.
yes, please
And
send us topics you want us to talk about, whether they're NBA,
NBA, movies, video games,
but TV, pop culture, anything.
anime. I don't really care.
Oh, anime. Oh shit.
Whatever you want. It's pop culture.
I'm a weeb. That's fine. Yeah, we have our own Instagram now. We also have our own personal Instagrams, Edwin.prime.
At Lucky Cat Visual.
Yes. And you can follow our Twitters. That links are all in the description, blah, blah, blah. The main thing I want to ask you guys, if you have an idea, like how Chris said, for us to talk about any topics, whether they're pop culture, movies, music, anything related, please don't be shy to send us a message on Instagram or Twitter, and we'll try to talk about them in the next upcoming episodes. And let us know if you like this NBA content, because we love NBA and we love talking about
we will talk
NBA
forever.
We talk about it forever. And I think that's it for today.
I think that is it.
So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We love you. And I'm going to do the outro right this time.
Do the outro. That was sweet.
Should I play the applause again?
Yeah. We out.